The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Six minutes after 12. Open line on Mannin Line today through till 1. Of course, tomorrow we're out and about with the students of Ramsey Grammar School, so if you have something to say it today or hang around till Friday. If you look at social media, Laurie Hooper said yesterday, it's clear something's already happening across the health and care services, but he said the government's refusing to tell Tynwald what it is. And Daphne Kane, MHK, the Education, Sport and Culture Minister, as you heard in the news, has rebutted claims that some schools' budgets have been cut. And I'm still at the quest after yesterday, after Wilf telling us where he caught all that cod. Where's the best place to line catch cod around the... Do you still do that? Does anybody still go out and catch cod on a line? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. David's with us first today. Hi, David.
When you do that, don't forget to get a licence, because government require one.
Oh, crikey.
Anyway,
shouldn't have said that.
I've sent you an email there, because I have to renew my data protection registration with the Information Committee. But now I've got confirmation, if you've got it in front of you, if you go right down the bottom, and these are the exact words from the government. Please note, post is currently taking up to 3 weeks to arrive.
3 weeks?
Yeah, you've got my data protection registration. I've got to renew it, which I was going to do. Come today, so there you do. First thing you do, the wife says, you get it done. So I'm up here. And I read this, and I thought to myself, we've now got confirmation. It takes 3 weeks for this to arrive. And
this is from the Information Commissioner. This is Manx government, isn't it? I mean, 3 weeks.
Isle of Man government, where are we? Now, I want to tell you another story too. I'm aware, through my connections in Onken here, somebody went to the post office to collect their money through the My Card and was refused because they said they'd filled the form in and they've had to have a bank account. Not true. Pensioner there was left without money. Now, the other story comes now. This is great, this. The Isle of Man Bank, right? How many days do you think it takes the Isle of Man Bank to send a letter or some sort of document to somebody living in the Isle of Man?
I know how many days it used to take, and it was
7 days. And this is to close an account that I'm connected with. So it says on here, I won't give you all the toll details on this, but I'm just wondering whether anybody else has got this and is panicking. You've got to provide the information by the 29th of January. What day is it today?
It's the 29th of January.
So I got it today.
Yeah.
You can imagine my off with a rocket, just like the blue touch paper, and away you go. And I'm really concerned about people who get these things and panic all the time. And you go to, I've been to Jersey, I've been to Guernsey. I mean, this guy was in London, but I've had people from Dublin as well. And what do you say to people who ring you on the phone? Oh, I want to inquire about your bank. And what happened a couple of weeks ago? All that gold.
Of course.
Fraud.
Yeah. And
I was saying to people, when somebody comes onto your phone and says, I'm an official from X, Y, or Z, which I did, and said, this is my telephone number, this is my email address, send me some documents. So it arrives today and said my bank account will be closed.
So you got until 4:30 today?
Oh, I've done even more than that. I've been round the world. I've asked for everybody, even talking to the Financial Supervision Commission, to say to them, you need to intervene here, or even the Treasury Minister, or one of the politicians who are in Treasury. This just can't be happening to me. Maybe they've just targeted me. But from a government department, I loved it when my wife pointed out to me. It says, please note, the current is currently taking 3 weeks to arrive. I'm sending it by email.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? and you've got a copy of it. I don't mind you showing it to anybody because it's got no private, confidential
but
information.
Just going back to the bank, how long's this been going on with the people that you know for the closure of the bank account? How long has it been hanging around?
It's been. Well, no, you get these wild things that come from the Isle of Man Bank. The problem is you can never talk to somebody locally, and I'm not being disparaging to the other people who are operators around. Like I've said to you before, being to Dublin, being to London, being to all over the place, and you get these people. You never get the same person twice, do you? And the only thing to do is get in the car and go down to Apple Street and queue or wait to see somebody. Nobody has a relationship manager anymore to say, oh, Mr. Quirk, come into the room, or we'll sort this out for you. I've been down a few times over the last couple of years to sort things out. Never get it right. And they wonder why people are moving banks.
Well, and you just wonder whether... I mean, I just wish the banks would tell the truth and just say, look, in a few years' time, nobody's going to have a physical bank. That's the way it's going to be. But to keep the pretense up of customer service, and as you say, it does a disservice to the people who are there. As you say, the people who are answering the phones in Dublin or Jersey or Guernsey or London, they must get earache from everybody. And, that's not what they're there for. They're there to help people. It's the people above them that are making the decisions.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about it is, and I laugh afterwards, I say to them, do you know where the Isle of Man is? Do you know the TT races? Do you know we have Manx cats? And they think they must tick me off as a lunatic. Because, when somebody rings you on the phone and says you're an official, you can understand why these people get caught out. Yeah. But even with that one that happened a few weeks ago, it was to do with the Isle of Man Bank and the gold. Why can't we investigate them all and find out where there's cold callings coming in and these scammers? There must be something in this technology world now. We can stop things. Or do we have to ask Elon Musk to come and live in the Isle of Man?
Oh, wow. Okay.
It'll stop.
All right.
Mate.
We'll find out. We'll just find out whether or not anybody else has had this. And I mean, for it to take that long for letters to arrive, it's a bit of an admission of defeat, isn't it?
It is. And especially when the Information Commission, and I can't remember his name because he hasn't signed it, on it, I'm going to send it back by email. So it's going to take, please note, post is currently taking up to 3 weeks. So you want to run a business in the Isle of Man, you need to shop early, okay?
All right, thanks for calling.
See you, boy.
Good to be with you. 14 minutes past 12. Afternoon, apparently from February 25th until at least the new tax year, there'll only be one elective theatre running per day at Nobles and the emergency theatre. What effect's this going to have on the recently cleared backlog and how many surgeries are being cancelled? There's all sorts of rumours about what's going on regarding operations at the moment. We're hoping to get to the bottom of it, and as soon as we do, we'll let you know. It's come to our attention that there's a motion or proposal coming up in Tynwald where Treasury is to penalise pensioners that have retired since 2019, April 2019. Treasury has carefully worded the proposal, making it sound like it'll save the whole Isle of Man's National Insurance Fund at the stroke of a pen. Once again, the rich and the privileged are aiming to rob the poor and defenceless and make up for the continued unchecked bloating of the civil service, says Texter 692. We've already paid our pensions over the years of hard work, contributed to both the education system, the service, tourism industry. Now the proposal will effectively change our contract with no chance of us to fight back through the voice and the vote of you and our MHK that we hope get elected with our vote. The proposal will also make an accumulating two-tier pension system to pre-2019 retirees, and the ones after 2019 who'll be worse off year by year. The government, says 692, is quick to award pay rises to doctors, police and other public sector At the Isle of Man Bank inquiry about a statement saw me referred to Jersey, says G313, before somebody from Gibraltar finally rang about the query taking 2 weeks for the mail to arrive. It's a sham, really, isn't it? I mean, really, the banks should perhaps just tell the truth and say, look, we're not bothered. Isle of Man Bank is a shell of what it used to be. I'll tell you a tale, and this is absolutely true. Yesterday I popped into Isle of Man Bank in Athol Street. There were 6 members of staff milling around the banking hall. There were 2 customers, myself and one other person, and he was made to queue. He had to, rather elderly gentleman, no chair, no nothing. He had to queue while I was standing doing what I was doing at the cash desk. Let alone, and again, forgive me, but the staff weren't dressed terribly well. A couple of them were in fleeces zipped up to the top. They're standing inside. Nobody had a tie on, and this is the Isle of Man Bank. You wonder what's going on, don't you? Why is the head post office in Douglas still saying 2 days for special delivery? I posted at head office on 12 noon, and they said on the Manx Royal Mail tracking that I'd posted at 4:30. I posted at noon. I've got the exact time on the receipt. I was of the understanding that if you posted direct from head office sorting, it was sent that day. All the planes and boats were going. It's a bit of a failure. Thank you, Anne, for that. I went to the bank on the 27th of December. I am still waiting for my letter to arrive. Apparently from everybody's saying this, the story about the one elective theatre at Nobles. We'll find out as soon as we can and see what's what. Wilf's on now. Hi, Wilf.
Hi, I was just reading an article in the paper here, in the Independent, and it's a thing, this Orsted thing, and it says they're going to. It looks to me like it's cut and dried that we're going to have them stuck in Ramsey Bay by the looks of things, because it says we're cutting down the amount of them, so there won't be so many, so the visual thing won't be so great.
Right.
But it just says, like, as if it's inevitable, it's going to happen. Because I expected that from our government, like, it's been saying they're doing some wonderful thing by renting a seabed.
Yeah.
You know, but that's I mean, of course.
But there are no figures mentioned, Wilf. Nobody knows how much we're going to get.
Exactly, and of course, we're not. It's not viewed. It's not viewed by Ramsey. It's not viewed by Douglas. It's viewed by Ramsey. The people in Ramsey got to put up with it.
So where are they going to? Because originally it was going to start in Laxey and then go north of Dog Mills, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's. There's going to be about half a dozen or so less. That's all it's supposed to be. I can see it coming off. I can see it coming.
But, Wilf, these things are 1,000 feet high.
Exactly.
They'll look like sort of invaders from space.
I know. And they'll have to be careful with low-flying aircraft and whatever. I don't know. But you were on about the thing I just mentioned. You did mention about the cod again. You see. And in my day, when I was a young man, you could catch cod anywhere around the Isle of Man. There would be patches anywhere around. But as soon as they started scallop dredging, that tore up. It's the same as, how can I put it easily? Right, let's say you particularly like something that was in the co-op. So you go to the co-op, and it's not there. It's sold out. So then you go somewhere else. And that's exactly what the fish are doing. They go to where they would normally go to get their normal food at that particular time of the year, and it's not there. It's as simple as that.
I mean, nobody knows. And going back to these big wind turbines, nobody knows. And it's a matter of fact that they do create a big vibration. You just wonder, because there have been all sorts of rumours about the fact that it may just deter the fish.
Well, we'll do. That's already been sorted out. the fella, I don't know the fella, but I was told by a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, that this mate of his did fishing trips, and it was where were they doing them from? I don't know. It was in the middle of one of the big where they've got a big load of these things.
Yeah.
And apparently it's killed the fishing for the angling. This fellow was taking people out angling,
right?
And they drove the fish away because they vibrate all the time. I mean, if you get a big rock sitting in the middle of the bay, fish will hide behind it, but it just sits there quietly. You put a motor car throbbing away in the bay, they aren't going to go near that. See what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
It's just simple stuff, you know what I mean?
How's the hospital today, Wilf?
They're very wonderful, wonderful people. I can't say enough about these people. I'm getting treated like a lord. But all I want to do, the bottom of my feet is sore, and the top of my feet is sore, and I can't stand up.
Oh, blimey.
That's all I need to do is stand up. If I can stand up, I can walk a few yards, and they'll let me go. And I can go home again.
All right. Okay, Wilf. We wish you well, Wilf.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Just to bring a bit of balance, there's a note in from 653, sorry. The Hunga Tonga explosion in 2022 could have had an impact on warming the planet, as per the NASA article. A 2024 report showed that the explosion had the opposite effect and created a cooling due to the resulting chemical reactions in the atmosphere. Given how widespread this information was to find, so the Hunga Tonga... Oh, well, actually, Julian's with us today. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy.
What's the story? Did this Hunga Tonga explosion, did it heat up or did it cool down the atmosphere?
Well, there's a very easy way to work that one out. Just Google what is the main climate greenhouse gas, and every single search will come up with water vapor. So if it's increased the stratosphere by a mind-boggling, you imagine 14% increase in water vapor. It's really easy. Just check it out. Nobody's saying it's offering a cooling effect. However, like I mentioned, the eddy minimum, if we follow that metronome every 210 years with the de Vries cycle, as it's known, we're going to get a lot colder over the next few decades. So if we're looking at things like solar panels, you might want to think twice. If you're desperate for some energy and you haven't got any, you might want to go back to coal, gas and diesel and oil and stuff if it's a choice between that and freezing to death.
Anyway, that wasn't why you called.
I was going to talk, catch up on where we talked about, because you're asking me about carefully farmed sea bass and what they mean by carefully, but just quick before that, the news that the Isle of Man government has deleted their X account because allegedly Elon Musk made a so-called Nazi salute. I'm wondering if whoever made the decision to do this in our government is aware of a BBC News article from the 9th of May 2021 titled Elon Musk reveals he has Asperger's on Saturday Night Live, and a year later, on the 12th of April 2022, he was at a TED Talk in Vancouver, Canada, and gave a very candid description and details about his autism spectrum disorder, namely Asperger syndrome, and his problems with social interaction and social cues. And I'm also reminded of the paragraph in the Isle of Man Equality Act of 2017, warning of discrimination arising from disability. So my question is, who's the person who made the decision to close the government's X account? And can we have an explanation as to what the due process was? And was it a unilateral decision? Because if it turns out that this is just an awkward movement from someone who was saying, here's my heart to you, to the crowd, and did a thing across his chest and threw his arm out as if to say thank you for saving the planet, I think he said, that could be potentially embarrassing for the Isle of Man on the world stage if we're the only government that's actually banned X and they've got it wrong because it was some sort of a knee-jerk political reaction, and possibly contrary to the Equality Act and our own legislation.
How strange! I wonder what that is. Well, hopefully, I mean, the government will always. They're full of transparency and they're completely see-through. Then we'll maybe find out who the person was who deleted. Because X, whether people like it or not, or like Elon Musk or not, X is a worldwide phenomenon. It's a very good way of getting your message out.
And the other point also is it's a two-way communication with government. If that's now gone, is it going to be the Ministry of Truth from the government website only now, where we can't actually send questions back in fairly easily? I don't know.
You could always try posting one. It might get there in a week.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and I'm sure you'll get a receipt of thing and whatever. Also, by the way, I listened on Tynwald's listen back earlier on. Claire Barber doesn't seem to be too forthcoming on when that food and drink festival might be on. I think that needs to be sorted fairly soon if people are going to start making plans for that, don't you reckon?
Well, yeah, as you say, if they are... Where does it end? I mean, what are we actually trying to do here?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it yielded much in the way of money, what they did last year. And I think just about everyone said that it was a real shame. And members in Tynwald yesterday were saying that they were hoping that it would be on again this year because it helps the local small to medium businesses so much. So I think I can't see any reason why it can't just go ahead as it normally would do, because I think it was a bit of a damp squib last year from what I heard.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, carefully farmed sea bass. We were mentioning yesterday about Tesco and saying about carefully farmed in the waters of the Mediterranean at Turkey. So they're grown in mesh cages close to the Turkish shore and inlets, especially around Antalya. According to the Turkish Journal of Engineering, because of the high density of the fish in an aquaculture cage and the subsequent problems with build-up of bacteria, fungus and parasites, because of their close proximity, and also, of course, you've got dead fish decomposing underneath, they need somewhere in the region of 14 different kinds of antibiotic, 13 kinds of other drugs, and about 14 different types of disinfectant, things like amoxicillin and oxytetracycline in the antibiotics, and what else have we got here? Copper sulfate, Lysol, malathion, chloramine T, quicklime. So you've got that. And also the local fishermen are complaining about a huge drop in fish yields in the last 10 years, which they're partially attributing to effluent runoff from Antalya and the hotels. It's a big area. So are these fish getting a double whammy? Because if they're being given a load of antibiotics, disinfectants, drugs, and also they're being dipped into the sea where you've already got effluent coming out from Antalya. I wonder what's be interesting to see. And, Turkey is now, I think it's number 2 producer of fish, and it's expected to be producing 750,000 tons of fish to Europe and Asia by 2030.
You put me off sea bass already, by the way.
Well, the wild sea bass, you know what? It's got twice as much vitamin D in it compared to the farmed ones as well.
Yes, and not that stuff with penicillin in from Turkey then.
No. So, Alaskan salmon, you just look at the colour of it. The wild stuff is that lovely, rich, dark pink to red. If you look at a farmed one, it's not quite the same. A bit paler, I think.
OK. All right. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Good to hear from you. What David said, is nothing new. Last year, I went to get new passports in April for my family with 3 desks, only one desk open, 2 people talking about their social life. After I got served, I dropped off the forms and everything that was needed at the desk. They were still talking an hour after I started to queue. Then after being told that they would only take 5 working weeks to process, I had to pay extra in August because they were struggling with demand. Cod get their food from the sewer pipe, says this correspondent. Oh, crikey. The pension, again, continually picking on the elderly and picking the bones of the elderly and vulnerable at every opportunity, I think is sickening, says Anne. With the money wastage and the deceit of historic failed over projects and the cost of failed Manx care, what next? Personally, I won't miss this sick world when I'm relieved from it. Oh, Anne, don't go anywhere. We need you. Eddie's with us now. Hi, Eddie.
Hiya, mate. You all right?
Very well, thanks.
Good. We could do with somebody in government like Wilf. I love listening to Wilf. He's got tons and tons of common sense. And on the cod story, it's a dead simple, like he says, dead simple answer. Cod has been overfished for donkey's years. That's why we haven't got a lot here now. I can remember when I was a teenager catching a 26-pound cod. It was actually longer than me off Port Erin. So you could catch cod everywhere off the coast in the Isle of Man and anywhere else in Britain. So exactly a fact what he says. A couple of other points, if I may.
Yeah.
I believe in government yesterday they discussed the question from Morehouse about runoff from the proposed wind farm.
Yes, they did.
Well, I think I mentioned to you a while back I had some photographs somewhere and some video. Well, I'm going to send you. I found them. The way it flooded the roads and everywhere around our area, you will be amazed at what you see. I believe the answer to his question from I can't remember the guy's name now, South African fellow.
Oh, Mr. Wannenberg.
Wannenberg, that's it. Yeah, he's in charge of the MEA now, isn't he? Again, I'm not being prejudiced in any way, but we get a little bit more rain than they do, and maybe he's not familiar with what can happen when you take away all the turf, the sponge, the heathland, and especially trees. Excuse me. Everywhere in the world at the moment they're saying plant a tree, not cut them down. So it's obvious what's going to happen in our area. We are all aware of it. It will absolutely cause floods. When I send you these photographs tomorrow, you'll be able to see for yourself what cutting 50 trees down can do. Because this was a result of cutting 50 trees down and taking away the spoils. And, you can look forward to seeing him, honestly, okay. Andy. You won't believe what it did.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Eddie. Good to hear from you. Laurie Hooper said yesterday, if you look at social media, it's clear something's going on across health and care services. Laurie Hooper said he was starting to hear about cancelled theatre lists with surgeries being cancelled or postponed, patients being told about funding being unavailable. The stories you hope you never hear. Government, says Laurie Hooper, has only last week in Tynwald denied any cuts were coming, but the anecdotal evidence is starting to mount up. Now, if anybody has had any of this happen to them, then let us know. Laurie Hooper said he doesn't want to cause unnecessary harm, but what he was hearing is concerning him, and it seems impossible to get any information out of the official channels. Joni Farragher put a question in yesterday. Unfortunately, the minister was ill, and nobody answered the question. Apparently, she was promised a written answer, but she wants an oral answer next week. So we'll see what happens. If you've got any thoughts on this, then please do text, email, call and WhatsApp. We did have some anecdotal evidence coming in. This was sent in by a concerned patient who said, the person I spoke to at Liverpool didn't realise I was an Isle of Man patient. It was the same person as yesterday. She'd messaged the consultant and also the secretary who's off this week. Apparently, from last week, the Isle of Man government aren't funding any operations apart from emergencies classified as P1 till the end of March. I, said this person, am classified as a P2 patient. Now, even if this hadn't happened, I would have had to see the other surgeon after yesterday's finding that he is off for his operation. So it wouldn't be in the next 4 weeks anyway. At the moment, says this person, I am at a loss. Well, we are. We're trying to find out. And as soon as we do, we'll let you know.
I've opened a savings account with Skipton International Guernsey.
And what's so special about Skipton?
Well, apart from some of the best interest rates, their range of savings options helped me find exactly what I needed.
Oh, OK.
And right now, they're offering a 4.6% AER fixed rate savings account maturing on the 2nd of February 2026, starting with deposits from £100,000.
Right then. How do I sign up?
For details on Skipton savings products, call 01481 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com. No withdrawals allowed until maturity. Interest paid annually and upon maturity. Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the GFSC and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. See dcs.gg.
Discover a fabulous range of watches, gifts and jewellery at Ramsey Art Gallery with top brand watches from Bulova, Citizen Eco Drive and Storm to Accurus, Seconda and Timex. Plus, all watch purchases come with free lifetime watch bracelet adjustment service. There's stunning gold and silver jewellery, gifts for all occasions, and of course a fabulous gallery of limited edition prints and original artworks. Find all this and more at Ramsey Art Gallery, Jewellers and Engravers, opposite Ramsey RNLI shop.
Looking for the perfect blinds for your home or office? Talbot & Son creates stunning vertical and roller blinds right here on the island. Handcrafting each blind with the highest quality fabrics and top-of-the-line components for a perfect fit, lasting durability and a sleek, stylish finish every time. Talbot & Son at Snudborough Trading Estate. This month only, there's 20% off all roller and vertical blinds. Don't miss out. Call us on 629940 or visit talbots.im.
Tomorrow evening at 5:30 on Island Life, one of the most successful and popular authors of the modern era talking about why he came to live here and the inspiration behind his best-known character, the cad, the blackguard, the bounder, Harry Flashman, who George MacDonald Fraser took from expulsion from rugby to international stardom, mostly completely unwarranted. The author in conversation with the peerless Terry Kringle at 5:30 tomorrow evening.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Angela's with us now. Hi, Angela.
Hi, hello.
Hi, what's on your mind?
I just want to bring something to attention that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with what you're talking about, unfortunately. I just want to bring people aware that we had a dog attack yesterday on some sheep in Ballath. The attack was pretty bad. People would have seen the photos I put on Facebook. And I'm just asking people to be more responsible because what's happened to those sheep, they don't deserve that. That's so bad.
What time was it? What time was the attack? Do you know?
Yeah, dinner time yesterday. And some people coming forward anonymously to the police, which I appreciate all of that. But lambing time's coming, and like I said, it's just so sad what they're going through and what the dog will actually go through if we catch it again.
Angela, it seems that we come around every year we come to this story, and it just seems as though some people simply don't get the picture.
They don't. And one lady was just stressed about the photos put on Facebook, which I understand, but that's the only way people realise what a dog is capable of doing. You know,
Angela, why do you think this is? Why do you think some people simply don't understand the relationship between, what is in effect a domesticated wolf, a dog, and sheep? Yeah. They simply don't understand. You must scratch your head about this.
I do. I mean, I'm a dog owner myself, and, I just don't understand how people can let them run in fields that there's sheep in, even empty fields that, that they don't own, which I don't understand. They're just causing it or making it a problem.
What's your message to them, Angela?
Please be more responsible. Keep your dogs on leads whenever you can, because animals don't deserve to suffer like this. That's not right. 1 minute she's there grazing, minding her own business. The next minute she's attacked. She's got her neck ripped off. It's so sad that people can ignore this, and the dog would be coming back with blood. It had to.
And of course, then, once the dog has tasted blood, it's never the same dog ever again.
No, this is it. We've moved what we had there yesterday, but it's a big acreage. Like, we can't move them every time just because somebody's been so irresponsible. I spoke to the police yesterday. I am in my right to shoot the dog. And I would never do that because I'm an animal lover. I can't do that. And I just think people should be more responsible.
Well, I mean, shouldn't there be a big fine for dog owners? I mean, shouldn't there be something absolutely that will teach people a lesson and nobody will think about doing it ever again?
Oh, most definitely. But people don't. They ignore signs. I mean, the public right away, we have a footpath by us as well. There's no signs on that. We have a railway line by us. There's no signs on that. I mean, we can put as many signs as we want on gates and everything like that. They just don't respect it, and they don't realise what can happen.
Who's going to pay any vet's bills, Angela? Who's going to pay that?
Me.
No, can you get insurance on that?
Insurance doesn't come into it.
Right.
Like, I'm not in it for money. I enjoy my farming, and animal suffering through somebody's neglect is not acceptable. It is not acceptable. You know, nothing deserves to be ripped apart. If it would have been a child, oh my God, everything would have happened. But just because it was an animal, nobody will take responsibility from it. You know, it's wrong. It's so wrong.
Right.
But as I say, I'm not in it for the money. I'll pay the bills. I just feel so sorry for the animals who've gone through what they did yesterday.
All right, Angela.
It's wrong.
I hope we never talk about this subject again, but
I do too.
I've got a feeling we may possibly. But thanks for calling, Angela.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Thanks. A note in from Pat, who just said, we were talking about apprentices yesterday. There's not a shortage of work for a tradesman on the Isle of Man. The problem is the big main contractors are using unskilled people to do trade work at cheap rates. Is that right, Pat? On government-funded projects, legislation states they must use certificated tradesmen. This is never checked. Cheap labour rules, unfortunately. Government doesn't realise if they don't check to see if the tradesmen are being properly used or properly employed. Cards in, says Pat. Well, that's an opinion. Is that an opinion or is it fact? But certainly it's something that needs to be taken notice of because there is a shortage of apprentices. I think it's next week or the week after in the UK is National Apprenticeship Week. On the Isle of Man? Isn't it just the fact that the banks obviously don't care about businesses or the business from the public? It was sacrilege when the Isle of Man Bank ripped out that beautiful counter in the Athol Street branch. I lost respect for them over that. It was the vandalism of a beautiful building. I think, look, I know you're quite right. It was a cathedral of finance, wasn't it, Athol Street? It was. In fact, I like to go in even if I wasn't doing any business there. It's such a gorgeous place, especially on a summer day. But I think Manx National Heritage got some of the wooden tellers furniture, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. And no matter what the PR company in Jersey tells you about it and the big display they've got there about it, it really reeks of the fact that the owners, Royal Bank of Scotland International, actually don't care. They don't. Let me tell you that they do care, but they don't care. And certainly personal business, personal banking, people banking is really bottom of their priorities. They make all their money from corporate customers, which is fine. If they just said that, we'd all understand. If they said business is more important than you because you don't make us very much money, we'd all know. But they don't. Text, email, call and WhatsApp. Oh, Bonzo's with us now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hi, yes. In a departure from what I was going to talk about, because you're just talking about Isle of Man Bank.
Yeah.
Yes, absolute vandalism of Athol Street. Appalling. It was modelled, I believe, on the Bank of England.
I mean, Bonzo, whenever... I'll be
essentially a scale model of it.
I'll be honest with you. Whenever I had visitors come to the Isle of Man, I used to take them in the bank, even though we weren't doing anything. I'd go in the bank and just say, look at the ceiling, look at the cornices, look at the woodwork, look at everything. It really was, as you say, it was it was a museum piece, really, and it's been desecrated.
Yes, it was utterly beautiful, and it would have made a marvellous film set. But besides which, just the going in there, it was absolutely fantastic. So, but when it comes to personal banking, what they call retail banking, us going in, drawing our money out, putting our money in, that sort of thing. That hasn't made money for banks since the 1960s, and they have actually been quite open about it. And indeed, the predecessor of Royal Bank of Scotland Group, now NatWest again, because this time I'm going to talk about it was when it was NatWest, when I was a student, or just after I'd finished being a student. It then said, oh, actually, this personal banking business, it's not making us any money. So we're going to charge all our customers then, in the early 80s, pretty eye-watering sum. I think it was either £30 or £40 annually to have a personal bank account.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a huge backlash, and they never did it.
But do you remember, they got into a price war, the banks got into a price war, and the big thing was free banking. You can have free banking.
Oh, yes. I mean, but free banking then came because banking then stopped being banking and started being selling financial services.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the bank manager anymore to have your student overdraft beasting. For those of us of our vintage who remember having to go to the bank manager and being traumatized by that for years, they were merciless on that. But that was responsible banking. But then, from the 90s and sort of deregulation of financial services, banks then became a place to sell you financial services rather than do ordinary banking. So now that the sale of financial services has gone online and stuff, the ordinary banking of ordinary people who still have the strange habit of going into their bank to do things, well, yes, it's just not viable in any way, shape or form. So that's why bank branches are all bar one nowadays in the UK, or whatever, but bar chain that they changed them into. Yeah. But just coming on to an element that my phone did talk about, sea bass. Now, all these Turkish sea bass, full of lots of yummy chemicals and additives and all sorts of things. Well, firstly, the reason they're so cheap is, of course, the relationship between the pound and the Turkish currency is, the pound is just so much stronger about it. But also, because, of course, we're now not anything to do, in the UK, not anything to do with that dreadful left-wing organisation of the EU that went around regulating things, Tesco can now purchase this kind of stuff and then sell it because it doesn't have to meet the standards. And this is the world that Julian and others advocate that we should have from America. We should have chlorinated chicken. We should have hormone-stuffed beef, and all the other terrible things that are sold as an excuse for food in America.
I saw the other day that the chlorinated chicken is going to be used almost as a bargaining chip.
Oh, almost. No, it's going to be used very much as a bargaining chip and hormoned beef. If you want a trade deal with America, that's what you buy. No ifs, no buts. And we don't have much choice. Or, we in the UK can't point to EU regulations and say, well, sorry, we can't have that, because, of course, we don't have those anymore.
Okay.
Yes. When we're coming to food standards and things, yes, the world of Trump and Elon Musk that Julian and others champion. Yeah. Well, don't. Yes, it's not going to be very good.
All right. Thanks, Bonzo.
Okay, thanks.
Good to hear from you. It's 11 minutes before 1. Max dropped a note in and just said, after everything that's been said, I'm going to be fishing off Peel Promenade tonight. Oh, I was there a couple of weeks ago. There were about a dozen people fishing off the pier at Peel, and they all seem to be catching stuff. But then again, You know what also gets poured into the... Anyway, yesterday I had to go to Ramsey, says Jill. I asked my son to go into a well-known cafe there, get me a cup of coffee. The tills were down and only those with cash could be served. Another point in favour of keeping the MyCard, which I strongly believe in keeping, says Jill. The fact that no checks are being made on government-funded contracts, it costs money and time to train up an apprentice. The big firms and not-so-big firms just want the jobs done as cheaply as possible. So it's cheaper to get the lads out of the pub to put plaster on or paint the walls now. Only 11 plasterers have got government trade cards and about 30 painters, but the sites are full of them. Is that, says Pat. Is that true? Only 11 plasterers have got government trade cards and only 30 painters have. So where are we going to train people in the future? And do we want a proper job doing? We would assume we do. Why does the Isle of Man government have no control over immigration? Says John in Onken. Well, they do. I mean, anybody who wants to immigrate to the Isle of Man has to go through a process of regulated immigration. So they do have control. But, I mean, there's no numbers mentioned. I mean, they're not regulating the actual numbers, but people come to the Isle of Man all the time. People leave as well. Pat's 100% correct, says 762. Correct on the non-tradesmen working on government contracts. Clerk of Works and Works inspectors are under strict instructions not to ask to see a worker's employment card or indentures. Is that true? Genuinely, is that true? I arrived for an appointment at Noble's on the 8th of January to be told it was cancelled. They'd informed me by post. I still haven't received the letter, says 924. I don't know. Do you think it's just a matter of time now before we start regarding the post a bit like the banks, i.e. less of a service? I've been waiting for a cataract operation, says Joy. Waiting for a year. I've been told by ophthalmology, the department at Nobles, that they're only doing 35 operations in January, none in February, and they don't know what's happening after that. They've told me that they can't afford to bring the Scottish team, the synaptic team, over to sort out the backlog, and they got it down, haven't they? I don't have any idea when I can have my cataract operation, says Joy. Thank you, Joy. And that is the point, isn't it? Do you remember when Synaptic came over and Maxcare poured a fortune into them to get the cataract and the knee operations and the hip operations all done? Now, cataracts and, a bad knee and a bad hip aren't life-threatening. Everybody knows they're not life-threatening. They are extremely painful, they're very uncomfortable, and they're life-limiting. But where do they stand in the priorities, do you wonder? Thank you, Joy. It's good to hear from you, and I do hope your cataract operation happens soon. Tony's with us now. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Very well. It's a gorgeous day, isn't it?
It certainly is. This is the reward for being able to withstand weather. Of course, if we did some tree trimming once in a blue moon, there might not be quite as much disruption. I mean, we rushed out and got contractors in, but we didn't have to if we'd have just done some tree trimming and cutting on the side of the road, what you used to. I want to come back to Bonzo.
Yeah.
Very good point he makes. Yeah, we'll have to import stuff from other places. Well, the other thing is that people need to understand, and he raises a good point, that you can have stuff from the US, it's chlorinated chicken and everything else, but you don't buy it, then it won't go on the shelves. And the point is that the person at the end of the day who has control over this is the end consumer. And I would vouch for much greater government involvement in advertising what is good for you and what is not good for you. And I'll give you an example. Today I went along and looked at all the different greens on the shelf in Co-op. Peru, Senegal, most of them were Africa, but Peru was one off. So there was 6 products, all from Africa. Now, I question why people would buy this. It just doesn't make any sense, and the government needs to start pointing out you can go and buy most of these vegetables frozen from the UK, but you're just not fresh. So if you don't get them sold on the shelf, eventually the shops will stop stocking them. And that is the approach that we should have. Education of people. Not trying to say we should rejoin the EU because let them rule our lives. I mean, that's not the solution at all. The point is the EU has defined different things under their rules, which we have all sorts of problems with. But the end result is you end up with higher costs because farmers are forced to identify something that's not square and the right shape as being not fit for product, not fit for use.
How do you educate people then? Who do you start with? Is it parents?
Right.
Do you teach children at school? What do you do?
It should be taught at school. This should be part of living in the future. If you do this, if you go and buy off the shelf and you buy, I don't know, Chinese this or Cuban that or Chilean this, where it's from foreign countries, and I don't have a problem with foreign countries, I just have a problem with us having that on the shelf when there's no need for it. If you go ahead and educate children as to what the impact of that is, then you might see a different buying criteria coming into the market. And then if the local stores don't sell this stuff, eventually they'll stop stocking it. And that's the approach that needs to be used, not rejoin the EU or let somebody else rule our lives, like the World Health Organization who tell lies. You know, we are part of a global world, but we don't have to, as individuals, follow what the corporate responsibility wants. And it goes to banks as well. The government should step in and either open its own bank, the Isle of Man Government Bank, or they should use the post office and say we're going to have a post office bank and we're going to go back to how it used to be. You can have an account in the post office and you can have money paid into it and you can take money out of it. Now, Bonzo laughed last time I came on with this and said I used to have a post office savings account. But the point is, you can have a post office savings account with electronic identity. What's the problem?
Okay.
They have it in the UK. NSI in the UK, National Savings in the UK is government supported.
Okay.
So why can't we have the same thing here?
All right, got to go, Tony.
All these banks. Sorry.
Got to go now. We're about out of time.
Just all the banks would then change their tune.
All right.
Because they won't have all that money. Bye.
Thanks for calling today. Any thoughts on the matter? The answer phone's on 682-631. Email manninline@manxradio.com. We're out tomorrow, outside broadcast at Ramsey Grammar School at Lazaire Road with the students. Back with another open line on Friday. That's it. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
WINT